Welcome to another review. This time we have Shaman cards. And we start right away with the legendary, which is 7 mana, 7/7 elemental, Scar the Catastrophe. It has Battle Cry, deal 1 damage to all enemies, and it's improved by each turn in a row you have played an elemental. I kinda don't like the improvement effect. It kinda sucks if you just can't play the elemental and you lose all the turns you have played an elemental in a row. I think it would be better if it said lose 1 turn, or if you lose 1 turn then you lose 1 improvement. But maybe it would be too strong, but who knows. In standard, I feel like if you are playing an elemental deck, you of course play this card in this deck. It has a super nice art. I just like this card as a win condition or payoff for playing elementals. So I would give this card in standard 4 stars right away. It also deals damage to face, so it could be usually a 7 mana 7/7, deals 7 damage to face and your opponent's board, which is quite strong, obviously. Yeah, not much to say about that. I don't like the improvement part, but otherwise I like this card a lot. And I hope we see this card in Diamond, because it would be really nice to see a tornado in the Diamond card as a 3D animation. In Wild, I think you can slot it into some decks and potentially create a new elemental deck. I'll at least try it out. So I'd give it 4 stars again. And in Arena, I don't know if you can create your deck around it with usual, if you pick 5 elementals, it maybe deals 2 damage on your turn 7, maybe 3 damage at most. So I would probably give it 2 or 3 stars in Arena. Probably 2, to be honest. Next one, Dr. Holiday. 5 mana for 5. Battle Cry, if your deck has no duplicates, equip the Staff of the 9 Frogs. The Staff of the 9 Frogs is a 5 mana weapon, 2 attack, 9 durability. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 frog with taunt, and each frog is bigger than the last. This is the frog. It's just the basic frog you get from Hex, which is kinda unfortunate that they haven't changed the art for it. But what can you do? And this means that if you equip it on turn 5 and you swing, you get a 1/1 frog right away. The next turn you get a 2/2 frog, and so on. It's of course bad against weapon removal, which is probably going to be played in all decks. Just not just because of this card, but because of Ignis as well, or at least in ETC. So yeah, I just like this card, but I'm not sure about if you can get at least 5 5s, then it should be good. If you can't, then this card is not that powerful. But of course, you also need to count in the chip damage you get from the weapon, which is 2 damage per turn. So I would give this if you are playing a Reno deck, you for sure slot this in. And we also haven't seen the legendary neutral card, which could be Reno, and which could be also a payoff for your deck if it has no duplicates. So if Reno is powerful, then you probably play Reno decks, and you probably play this card. So I would give it 4 stars. In Wild, you can probably try to make some Reno deck work. So I would give it I don't know, 3 stars, honestly. Because I'm not sure if it's better than the current Shadow Work decks and so on. In Arena, I don't know, if you are creating a no duplicate deck, you would need to pick this card in your first 10 cards. So I would give this 2 stars. Yeah, I think that's fair. Walking Mountain, 9 mana for 16 elemental. It has Rash elemental. It has Rash, Lifesteal, Mega Wind Fury, and Overload 2. This card is super strong. If you play it in Wild, in Big Shaman, I think you can just get it out on turn 3 if you coin. What's it called? I can't remember. The 4 mana card that pulls a minion from your hand and from your opponent. Or you can just play Eureka. You can play, Eureka. You can play a lot of cards. So I wouldn't sleep on this card in Wild, because this can be super annoying against aggro decks that just can't deal 16 damage to this minion and just keep killing their stuff and healing. And potentially, if they don't kill it, you can go face next turn for like 16 damage, which is a lot. So yeah, I wouldn't sleep on this card in Wild. And just because of it, and because I like this card, I would give it 4 stars in Wild. I might be a little bit too optimistic, but I feel like it will be annoying if it's good in Big Shaman. And you probably don't play this card in Elemental Shaman in Wild. But in Standard, I could see one or 2 copies in Elemental Shaman. Maybe it's a little bit too slow. Yeah, it might be too slow actually. So maybe you just play it in like a Control Shaman or something. So in Standard, I would just give it like 3 stars. It's not as good, but we'll see. In Arena, I think this card honestly is like 5 stars. Because it gives you a removal, it clears your opponent's board, and if you survive till turn 9, you just heal like Reno Jackson or half of your health, which is super OP. So I would just give it 5 stars in Arena. Next one, Trusty Companion, 2 mana. Epic, give your minion +2/+3. If it has a minion type, draw 1 of the type. This card is like a Hand of Adal on steroids, I feel like. Because if you are playing like a Murloc deck and just play it on a Murloc, you get another Murloc and you give your Murloc +2/+3. Or if you play it on Amalgam, I believe it looks at your deck and the available pool of minion types, and it just chooses one of them. Or if you, for example, play it like on like the 3 mana Murloc that has the elemental tag as well, I think it would look at your deck, and if you have no elementals, it would just draw a Murloc. So this card, for me, feels like it's super OP in both Standard and Wild. So I would just give it 4 stars in both modes. And in Arena, it could be like a little bit worse, because usually don't have the tribal synergies as good as in Constructed. So I would give it probably like 3 stars in the Arena, but it's still really good, so that's that. Next one, Giant Tumbleweed. This card is extremely flavorful. Like you can see the tumbleweed crushing these people on the streets of the town, the Bloodrock Town, not sure how it's called. But yeah, super nice art. Also the boulder, or the tumbleweed, which looks like a boulder, has some nice art as well. It's a 6 mana 6/6 token. This card costs 7 mana and deals 6 damage to all minions and summons a 6/6 tumbleweed that we just looked at. It's a nature spell as well, so you can probably like tutor it in certain scenarios. It's like Harmonic Pop for Priest, which deals 6 damage and summon a 3/3. So this basically like combines the two Harmonic Pop parts together, and deals 6 and summons a 6/6, but costs 1 mana more. I don't think you are running this card, to be honest, in either decks, but you could probably justify playing it in like a Control Shaman, if that's the thing in Wild, in Standard. In Wild, I feel like it's too slow. Or you have the 7 mana. What's it called? I can remember. It deals 5 damage and then it deals 2 damage. I feel like this is similar, and you probably wouldn't play this either if you don't play that card, because it's too expensive. So I think in Wild you just don't play it, or maybe you play it in a Reno deck. That's one possibility I can probably see for this card. So that's why I'm giving it 2 stars. And in Standard, I think you probably don't play it either. Maybe if you play it in that control Shaman that just doesn't exist for now. And in Arena, it's actually not bad because it's what's it called? The Abyssal Summon, not Summoner. I don't know. For Warlock, the 7 mana 6/6. Yeah, Abyssal Infernal. Yeah, 7 mana 6/6 deal 3 damage to all minions, to all enemies, not enemies. No, deal 3 damage to all characters. Yeah, that's it. So in Arena, I would probably give it like 4 stars. 3 or 4 stars. Not sure. The next one, Minecart Cruiser. 3 mana for 5 elemental, rush, overload 2. But the guy, if you played an elemental last turn, don't overload. It's an elemental, so there's elemental synergies. If you are playing an elemental deck, you 100% play this card because it's ET on steroids. And if you played an elemental on turn 2 or turn 1, depends if you have coin or not. And this is basically just 3 mana for 5 with rush. This card just seems solid in all the elemental decks, so I would just give it 4 stars in all the modes, to be honest. Maybe 3 stars in Arena, because it's, again, like, if you can get enough elementals, then you overload for 2, which is a lot in Arena. So I would probably give it like 3 stars in Arena. Another card, 2 mana Amphibious Elixir. It's nature spell again. It restores 5 health and you discover a spell. This card could be played again in Nature Shaman to get some heal. You discover another spell, which is always nice. In Wild, you could play it in some Control Shaman instead of some other healing options, because discovering a spell is of course giving you a card advantage, so that's always good. In Standard, back to Standard again. In Standard, you could, if there's a Reno version of some Shaman, then you probably play this card because it gives you some heal, gives you another option value. So I think this card is like a solid 3 across all the modes. Next one, Living Prairie, 5 mana 5/4 elemental. Battle Cry, if you played an elemental last turn, summon 2 free cows with rush. These are the cows. It is such a good art. You can see the elemental throwing the cow in the background. Now, obviously, if you played an elemental deck, you play this card. It's like it has stats like the 5 mana spell that summons 2 5/4s with rush and overloads you for 1. This is basically it, but it has 2 free cows with rush instead of the second 5/4 element, second 5/4 with rush. So it's a little bit less damage on the current turn, but it's more stats overall. So I kinda like this card. If you're playing an elemental deck, you probably play this card. So I would just give it like 4 stars, or maybe 3 stars, because it's probably worse than the 3 mana one. In Wild, again, if you probably play an elemental deck, you probably play this card. And in Arena, it actually could be a 5 mana for 5 mana 5/4, because if you don't get enough elementals, then this card kinda sucks. So in Arena, I would probably give it 2 stars, to be honest. But if you can build a deck around it, then it's good, obviously. Dehydrate, 3 mana, lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion, quick draw, costs 1. I don't like that this costs 1, and it's not this costs 2 less. Because always, if it's a permanent cost modification, then you can discount it by some other means. But other than that, this card feels super strong in a Rai deck. Like if you can cycle, then it's good. In a Reno deck, you probably play 1 copy, again, standard. Not sure about Wild, but maybe you can justify playing it in a Control Shaman, maybe in Big Shaman as well. So yeah, it's just a nice addition to these decks. So in standard, I would probably give it like 3 stars, maybe. Not sure about this one. It's like 2 or 3 stars. In Wild, I would just give it like 2 stars because there are probably better healing options, to be honest. And in Arena, it's not that bad. I think in Arena it's like 3 stars again. And the last one is Skakter Scatter, a 2 mana 2/2 Murloc. And Battle Cry, draw a spell. If you cast it this turn, gain +1/+2 and taunt. I really like this one. It has a super nice art. It's super flavorful. It draws you a spell. It tutors a spell, which is insane for a card that costs 2 mana. And even, I mean, on top of that, if you cast it this turn, you basically have a 3/4 with taunt for 2 mana. Plus, of course, the spell you needed to cast. But still, that's extremely strong. It's like Dungeoneer, basically, level, I feel like. So I would give this card like 4 across all the modes. Because it feels just strong. And in Arena, you can get like a ton of value from this card. So it's strong in Arena as well. Not sure if you play this in even Shaman, but maybe in Wild. So these are the Shaman cards. I really like these Shaman cards. They feel super refreshing after the last expansion. And I like that they keep printing like some random Murlocs, even if the set is not about them. That's super nice. That's it for this review, and again, see ya in the next one.